All right, friends, it's T-Man. We're back again with another Blaha video. So in this video, we're going to react to the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slave himself, Jason Blaha, bro. Blaha says vegan and carnivore diets will never be optimal for muscle growth. You don't say, Blaha, do you?
It is impossible for a vegan or carnivore diet to be optimal for gaining muscle. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. But a quick reminder, if you will click like down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you...
Again, carnivore is not a diet. I don't know what he's talking about.
...are not following or subscribed, please do so.
Veganism is a diet.
Kindly drop me a comment down below the video. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, let's get over to the topic.
You can call vegan a diet because it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as vegan. Carnivore just means meat. It means an animal that eats meat. Well, that's real. That exists, see? But vegan, that's something man made up. It's fake. Doesn't exist in nature. It doesn't exist anywhere.
And yeah, I'm going to stick to stuff like this because this is what my channel and page are mainly about. I'm not super into just the general fitness or weight loss, even though those are things I do help people with. For me, this really is about gaining muscle. It's about gaining.
He helps people with? Okay.
Strength. It is about being the best version of ourselves. And so even though...
Is he being the best version of himself? What is this strength thing, this obsession with strength, bro? You're not building any strength. You're just recruiting motor units, okay? The nervous system. That's all you're doing. To be good at doing whatever it is you're doing there. Like everything in life, you have to practice at being good at it. Otherwise, fuck it. You're not going to be good at doing it, okay? So if I'm good at doing skateboarding, are you fucking weak then that you can't skateboard? Dude, or you can't play fucking ice hockey, you can't skate? Christ, this is stupid. I think, the fitness world, people are mentally ill or sick, man, in their head.
Some people might lose some weight or some body fat on these sort of diets. We already know they are not optimal for health. We've discussed this in detail.
Whatever.
But definitely the concept of maximizing muscle mass, you will never ever... Definitely the concept of maximizing...
You are never going to maximize muscle growth, okay? Because you're not even lifting to maximize it.
Muscle mass, you will never, ever, ever do that on either one of these. And if you manage to pull it off, it's going to be insanely...
You'll never, ever manage to do it on either one of those. Wow, that's, okay, whatever. Yeah, okay, sure, Blaha.
Difficult, meaning...
I guess animal protein, which is high in every nutrient, there's no deficiency, is not good enough to build muscle. Yeah. Our original food as carnivores, eating meat, is not going to build us. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
Usually large amounts of supplementation, even more restrictions and limitations put in place. And let's kind of...
Why would I need supplementation if I'm eating meat? There's no deficiency in any nutrients in meat. There's also wouldn't cause me any harm because there's no sugar or toxins in it. What are you talking about?
Break down why that is. All right, the vegan one is very, very obvious. The issue is getting total protein bioavailability to maximize muscle growth. So what you find is...
Total protein? Don't you mean nutrients? That's what builds bodies, nutrients. They lack in nutrients and a bunch of things, okay?
That, and this is, again, we have studies that have looked at this on trained lifters. They tend to start losing muscle on vegan diets, okay? So almost every jacked vegan that you see...
Well, they're not able to keep nitrogen balance. That's right. Or positive nitrogen balance. It's not associated, vegan's not associated with positive nitrogen balance. But he says that the carnivore diet, which is not a diet, is not going to be able, you're not going to be able to build muscle, but it keeps you in positive nitrogen balance. It's associated with positive nitrogen balance. When they exhumed bodies from the past, they noticed their nitrogen balances were astronomically high. Wow, it's carnivore animals, dude. We're not farmers. We're not meant to be farmers.
Remotely jacked, they all started eating meat. They went over to vegan for a while, and then most of them drop it back out. And again, my idea of Jack is going to be different for some vegans. I'll say that, and I'll have vegans who will they'll link someone, and I will tell them flat out. Even at 48 years old, even when I'm in my 50s later, I'm 48 now, I wouldn't be happy with that amount of muscle. Like even when I'm 55 years
Blaha has no muscle. I'm 58, not 55, Blaha.
old, the person that you linked, I just personally would not be comfortable being that small.
I'm not small at 58, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm bigger than you. I'm bigger than you, I'm heavier than you, and I'm stronger than you.
So to me, again, their best versions they come up with, I'm just like, dude's 160 pounds. Even if I stripped down contest lean, I would be a lot more than that at almost 50 years old. I'm not comfortable with that, guys. That is not impressive in any way. You have a guy who gained a little bit of muscle. It's nowhere near optimal.
You're not 50. You said you just turned 48.
It's nowhere near where he could be if he simply ate meat and dairy. The same guy, completely drug-free, could probably realistically put on another 10, 15 pounds of muscle over 2 years just by changing his diet. So no, it's always bad.
You're not going to put on any muscle if you're still adapted to your exercises. So forget that. It doesn't matter what you eat.
Examples. And even they'll show guys on gear, and I'm like, yeah, but everyone I know who uses gear, who's a vegan, and I've known some, they have to use higher doses. Okay.
Here we go with the gear, man. Go ahead, take gear. Guess what? You're gonna have to keep taking it the rest of your life. If you take it, it doesn't build muscles.
More drugs, and they still don't get the same results. So it's just ridiculous, and it comes down to muscle protein synthesis. And that really is the issue. It's the fact that they struggle to get enough bioavailable protein without just consuming large amounts of shakes, and vegan protein shakes are usually not the best tasting. So that becomes their only route, right? And when I mean bunches of them, I mean because of the lower bioavailability. You start seeing cases where in addition to their normal vegan food, they're knocking down 100 plus grams from shakes every day. But it's like, man, if you do that
Yeah, okay.
on a carnivore diet and you start knocking down 100 extra grams of whey shakes, man, you're going to start stripping body fat down as you get into the protein overfeeding studies. You get all sorts of crazy results. They're having to do that. They're having to do that just to beat the bare minimums.
At Bet365, we're all about amazing.
They're having to do that just to beat the bare minimums. Okay? Because of the lower bioavailability, a lot of them are needing 200 plus grams of protein a day at their minimums to even gain sufficient.
Minimums bioavailability. Yeah, with vegan diets are associated with negative nitrogen balance. Yeah, we know that.
Muscle at all. Okay, because again, you start looking at bioavailability. And then we have all the GI tract distress and everything. We're trying to get this much plant
What are you talking about? What GI tract? What?
protein. It becomes difficult, very problematic. Then the issue of they have to supplement all sorts of vitamins, B12, and everything else. Again, problematic. And they're very, very limited in their food choices then if they're trying to gain muscle. Getting enough protein, getting high enough quality protein has to become an obsession. Where the meat eater's like, I'll just throw a pound of chicken in somewhere. Done. So again,
You don't just build muscle because you ate a pound of chicken. Your muscles are not going to grow because, hey man, I will it to grow because I eat a pound of chicken, so now it's going to magically grow. You people have to be nuts. This guy's crazy. Do you understand me? You understand how nuts this guy is?
and then we also see the higher injury rates among vegans, and I'm not going to get into all of that. And I think that comes.
The injury rates among vegans, because they're weakened. They're in a weakened state, bro. They're eating so much toxicity and sugar and shit, whatever else. They're negative nitrogen balance. Yeah, they're gonna get injured if they lift eccentrically. That's for sure.
Down to lack of collagen synthesis. Again, on the protein synthesis end. All right, carnivore. This one should
Yeah,
be
they're losing collagen because it's breaking down because the amount of sugar and toxicity they're taking in.
obvious. No carbohydrates. Straight up, you are going to gain less muscle with no carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, insulin are insanely anabolic to muscle.
You're gonna gain less muscle if you just. This guy is funny, man. You're not necessarily going to, but it definitely helps you get there faster by eating a complex carbohydrate, which will not spike insulin, but will increase insulin, which is anabolic. So, but it's only anabolic if you have damaged muscles. If they're not damaged, they're not gonna fucking grow, man. Okay? So it doesn't matter how much you do. Here's the thing. I do not recommend you eat any carbohydrates, any kind. Doesn't matter, complex, carbohydrate, whatever the fuck you're doing there, right? If you're just lifting and you're adapted, you are only destroying your health. The only time you should take in a carbohydrate is when you're building muscle and strength, okay? Building muscle and strength. And I mean eccentric exercises. That's all. And after you're done, cut them out. Cut them out for wherever you get to, whatever your goal is. I don't know, 5, 10 months, a year, whatever you're comfortable with, or however, how big you got. I don't know. What you should do is cut them out afterward. Go on a high animal fat diet, okay? Eat a lot of animal fat after that. Get your body to adjust. And stop doing that. That's all. It's really simple. And then lift with just eating a lot more animal fat and meat and everything else, okay? And animal products. Stop eating plant products. They're not good for you. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't cheat, but I honestly wouldn't do that because it's highly addictive and it's gonna keep pushing you to do more. You're gonna have these cravings, but those cravings are really based on addictions. You understand? You got to be careful.
Tissue.
Blaha is addicted. He's addicted to tofu and some garbage food, whatever. And he's addicted to exercising the shit out of himself. That's why he's addicted to accelerated aging. There are people that become addicted to accelerated aging. They love doing this, and then they love saying, "Well, I'm 48, but I'm almost 50," and they're like, "Whoa, look at this!" They're glorifying all of that. Meanwhile, they're looking 85. You understand me? They're really looking 85, but they think that's the way you're supposed to look. They think at 48, you're supposed to look 85. You get it? When in fact, you're supposed to be looking 30. You're still supposed to be looking 30, even in your 40s or 50s. You're really supposed to be looking like you're 30. You understand what I'm trying to explain to you? That is the goal you should be reaching for. So get rid of these senescent cells. Stop eating these fake foods and everything that are deteriorating you faster than you're aging. And stop accelerating aging, going fucking to the gym 6 days a week, okay?
It's not anabolic, particularly to fat tissue when you lift.
Oh, yeah?
Again, why you see in the bodybuilding world the leanest, most jacked people on the face of the earth, pro bodybuilders,
Yeah.
pretty much abuse insulin. Okay, stop any of them getting ripped.
It ain't all insulin. Not all of them are abusing insulin.
Pointing that out. So over to that point, lack of insulinogenic response from the carbohydrates, lower glycogen stores. Lack of recovery from no antioxidants in your diet. Okay, you're going to have much higher oxidative stress. And they try to pull this nonsense, with their crazy. Well, since we're not eating all the PUFAs, we don't have oxidative stress. It's like, you do realize when this has been studied in the lab in humans, PUFAs don't actually particularly increase oxidative stress. But even the crappy, horrible seed oils you really shouldn't be cooking in don't actually do that. Not in a real human being when you start measuring it in the body. So this is nonsense. So they think because they're cooking in staple oils, which people shouldn't be cooking in oils and fats anyways, that they are somehow have some advantage. No, guys, no. You're not recovering. You're going to have higher oxidative stress in your body. If you talk about a diet that will create oxidative stress, avoid all fruits and vegetables. Now you're going to have crazy oxidative.
Oh, brother, oxidative stress. What do you think he's doing there lifting these weights all day? Oxidative stress, oxidation and hypoxia. That's what he's doing there. Huh.
Stress. Way more than anything you could possibly hypothesize from seed oils. So again, this affects recovery, lack of carbohydrates, then their dietary choices, because they tend to load excessive amounts of saturated fat into the diet. We know this produces insulin resistance, been repeatedly demonstrated. Insulin resistance then means higher fasting blood glucose. That's why you always see that in these groups. Like, my fasting glucose is high, but it's good. No, it's like, no, it's because you're insulin resistant. That's why. You have high blood sugar. You're insulin resistant even though you don't even eat carbohydrates. You have high blood sugar.
All right.
Insulin resistance is critical for muscle growth. Insulin is for shuttling tissue into the muscle. Same thing, dudes get crazy jacked.
Look, man, that insulin is not going to build muscle. If muscle's not damaged, there's nothing for it to build. It doesn't magically build because, well, there's insulin there. So it's, okay, there's insulin floating around in there. Okay, and what about it? Is it just because you increased your insulin, it's going to magically say, well, because we increased, we're going to build muscle fibers for you. No, no, no. Insulin doesn't have hands or legs. It can't lift the weights for you to damage your muscles, okay? You have to go and damage them yourself. But if you don't want to do that, then don't do that. And don't complain about it, okay? Fake it like everybody else out there. There's a lot of people faking it out there. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong with that. Just join. You can, if you can't beat them, join them, I say.
A more balanced diet, an omnivore diet with plenty of carbohydrates. I see guys who do this and they go on a bunch of gear, they get pretty big, then they go over carnivore and get leaner and pretend like the carnivore diet
What? They get kind of big and then they lean over a carnivore diet. Okay, whatever.
built what they had. It's like, dude, you ran, test, trend, and huge amounts of carbohydrates for 5 years straight. Just stop. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today.
Thank God. That was a ridiculous video. One of the most ridiculous videos. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Ciao.